What I'm about to tell you is something most women will never admit out loud. But there are 9 specific things we do in bed that silently expose everything about our past. I'm a woman, and I know exactly what I'm talking about. These signs, they're impossible to fake. They operate on a subconscious level, and they reveal the full story, whether we like it or not. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, because let's be real, you won't hear this kind of raw honesty from a woman anywhere else. Drop a comment and tell me, what city are you watching from? I always love seeing where my viewers are tuning in from. And whatever you do, make sure you stay until sign number 8. That one will completely shift the way you understand how women behave with men they truly desire. Most men don't even know this exists. And trust me, the psychology behind it is both fascinating and unsettling.
Thing 1. She takes complete initiative from second 1. The first sign that reveals everything about her intimate history is when she immediately takes complete control without any hesitation, warm-up, or getting to know you, period. Now, I need you to understand the difference between healthy intimate confidence and practiced routine execution. Here's the psychology behind this that most men miss completely. Genuinely inexperienced women, even confident ones, tend to have a natural period of adjustment with a new partner. They might be assertive about what they want, but there's still that element of discovery, of figuring out the chemistry between two specific people. They're present in the moment, responding to you specifically. But a woman with extensive experience doesn't need that adjustment period because she's not really with you. She's accessing a vast database of past encounters. She immediately starts directing the situation, not because she's confident about what works between you two, but because she knows what generally works with men, period. You'll notice she positions herself exactly where she wants to be within moments, guides your hands to specific places without testing the waters first, and has a clear agenda from minute 1. It's not passionate spontaneity, it's practice efficiency. She's running a program she's run dozens of times before. The dead giveaway is that her approach doesn't seem to account for your individual preferences, your pace, or your style. She's treating you like a generic man rather than a specific person because in her experience, most men respond the same way to the same techniques. And while that might feel exciting in the moment because she seems so skilled and confident, it should also make you wonder, how many times has she performed this exact routine? How many men have experienced the identical approach you're experiencing right now? Thing 2. Choreographed transitions and zero learning curve. This one is incredibly telling, and most men completely miss it because they're focused on the wrong things. Pay close attention to how she moves during transitions between different activities or positions. This reveals more about her intimate history than almost anything else. An inexperienced woman, even one who's been in long-term relationships, will have those natural, beautifully human moments of slight uncertainty. Maybe a soft laugh when something doesn't go smoothly, a pause to figure out the logistics, a moment where she needs to think about how to move from point A to point B, or even just that natural adjustment period where two people figure out how their bodies work together. These moments aren't flaws. They're signs of authentic present moment awareness and genuine connection between two specific people. But a woman with a high body count moves like she's performing a choreographed routine she's rehearsed hundreds of times. Every transition is smooth, calculated, and efficient. She knows exactly how to move her body, where to place her hands for leverage, which angles work best, and how to shift positions without missing a beat. The psychological reason this happens is muscle memory combined with pattern recognition. When you've done something hundreds of times with dozens of different partners, your body develops automatic responses. She's not figuring it out in the moment with you. She's accessing a vast library of physical experiences and applying the most efficient solutions.
But here's what should really concern you. Watch for the complete absence of those little human moments of discovery. If everything flows too perfectly, if she never needs a second to think or reposition, if there's no learning curve about how your specific body works with hers, that's your red flag. Real intimacy between two people involves some level of mutual discovery, even if both people are experienced. When that discovery element is completely missing, it means she's not really present with you. She's running an automated program, but this is absolutely nothing compared to what's coming next. Thing 3, laser-focused self-optimization over connection. Here's something that might surprise you, and it's crucial for understanding the psychology of a woman with extensive intimate experience. She often becomes extraordinarily focused on her own pleasure, but not in the healthy, communicative way you might expect from maturity. Let me explain the difference, because this is where most men get confused. Sexually mature women who've been in healthy, long-term relationships learn to communicate their needs and desires openly. They understand their bodies and aren't afraid to guide their partners toward what works. This is positive, intimate development. But a woman with a high body count develops something entirely different. A kind of mechanical self-optimization that treats you more like a tool than a partner. She's learned exactly what her body responds to through extensive trial and error with multiple men. And she's not interested in the journey of discovery that should happen between two people. Inexperienced women often focus heavily on pleasing their partner, sometimes even at the expense of their own enjoyment. They're still in that phase where they want to be good at it, where they're seeking approval and validation, where making you happy is a significant part of their own satisfaction. But a woman who's been with many men has usually moved past that phase entirely. She knows her body like a technical manual, knows exactly which buttons to push and in what sequence, and she's going to make sure those buttons get pushed, whether you're emotionally connected to the process or not. You'll notice she doesn't wait for you to find what she likes through exploration and communication. She immediately redirects you with the efficiency of someone giving directions to a destination she's visited countless times. She's not discovering herself with you, she's executing a predetermined optimization strategy. The psychology here is critical to understand. When intimacy becomes routine across multiple partners, it becomes goal-oriented rather than connection-oriented. She's not making love with you, she's using your body to achieve specific physical outcomes that she's learned to produce efficiently. And while intimate confidence is absolutely attractive, there's a profound difference between confidence and mechanical efficiency. One comes from self-knowledge and communication skills. The other comes from treating intimate encounters like a technical process to be optimized. Thing 4. Advanced technical knowledge that didn't come from Google. This sign is both obvious and subtle at the same time, and it requires you to think critically about how people actually acquire intimate knowledge. I'm talking about specific skills, techniques, and understanding that clearly didn't come from mainstream sources, casual experimentation, or even long-term relationships. Here's what most men don't understand about intimate education. There's certain things you simply cannot learn from imagination, basic experimentation with a loving partner, or even adult content.
Advanced techniques require either professional instruction, extensive practice with multiple partners who have different preferences, or exposure to environments where intimate education happens at a more intensive level. When a woman demonstrates knowledge or skills that seem disproportionate to what you'd expect from her stated experience level, she's revealing something about her educational background that goes beyond what she's telling you. And I'm not just talking about physical techniques. I'm talking about her understanding of male psychology during intimate moments, her knowledge of what different types of men respond to, and her ability to read and adapt to intimate personalities. The psychological aspect here is that intimate expertise doesn't develop in a vacuum or through theoretical learning. It requires extensive hands-on practice with variety. If she knows exactly how to handle different personality types in bed, different physical preferences, different emotional needs during intimate moments, and different male insecurities, she's telling you something significant about her past without saying a word. Pay attention to moments when she does something that makes you think, "Where did she learn that?" Because the answer probably isn't, "It just came naturally," or "I read about it somewhere." Advanced intimate knowledge comes from advanced intimate practice, and advanced intimate practice comes from multiple partners over extended periods. Also, watch for her comfort level with topics and techniques that would make most people uncomfortable or require significant discussion before attempting. If she navigates advanced territory like it's routine conversation, that casualness comes from familiarity, and familiarity comes from repetition. Thing 5. Emotional compartmentalization during physical intimacy. This one might be the most heartbreaking to recognize, but it's also one of the most revealing signs of extensive experience. A woman with a high body count often develops sophisticated emotional armor during intimate moments, and this armor becomes so automatic that she may not even be aware she's using it. Here's the psychology that most men don't understand. When physical intimacy becomes routine, when it's something you shared with dozens of different people across multiple relationships, hookups, and encounters, it fundamentally changes how your brain processes these experiences. What should be a deeply connecting, vulnerable experience becomes more like a performance or a transaction that exists separately from emotional reality. You'll notice this in subtle but devastating ways. She might be technically present and physically engaged, executing everything perfectly, but there's something missing in her eyes, a kind of distance that suggests she's not really there with you. It's like she's running on autopilot while her consciousness is somewhere else entirely. This is completely different from normal nervousness or even intimate inexperience. An inexperienced woman might be uncertain about technique or worried about performance, but she's emotionally present. She is vulnerable in the moment because this experience matters to her on a deeper level. But when a woman has been with too many men, that vulnerability often gets buried under layers of emotional protection. She's learned to separate the physical act from emotional connection, because connecting deeply with every partner would be psychologically overwhelming and emotionally exhausting. It becomes a survival mechanism. The really tragic part is that this emotional compartmentalization often becomes so habitual that she can't turn it off even when she wants to. Even in relationships where she genuinely cares about the person, that automatic emotional distance kicks in because it's become her default setting. You might notice that intimate moments feel technically proficient but emotionally hollow. She's going through all the right motions, but it feels like you're making love to a very skilled actress rather than connecting with a real person who's genuinely present with you. The next sign reveals even more about this psychological dynamic. Thing 6. Desensitized reactions to male anatomy and performance. Here's something that will hit you like a cold revelation about the reality of extensive experience. Pay very close attention to her reactions to your body, your performance, and your individual characteristics. This is where the difference between limited experience and extensive experience becomes brutally obvious. An inexperienced woman, or even a woman who's been in a few long-term relationships, will usually show some form of curiosity, appreciation, nervousness, or genuine interest in your specific body and what you bring to the encounter. There might be compliments about your physique, questions about your preferences, expressions of appreciation for your size or technique, or just that natural human response of being impressed, intrigued, or even slightly intimidated by new intimate territory. This isn't about ego stroking. It's about the natural human response to discovery and individual connection. When someone hasn't seen dozens of variations of what you're offering, your specific attributes register as noteworthy. But a woman with extensive experience, nothing surprises her anymore. She's seen every possible variation, size, shape, technique, and performance level. Your body is just another data point in a very extensive database, and her reactions reflect that reality. You won't get those little moments of appreciation, wonder, or a discovery. No comments about your uniqueness, your technique, or your physical characteristics. No questions about what you specifically like or how you prefer things. She approaches your body and your performance with the same casual attitude you might have toward a piece of furniture you've seen countless times. Functional, familiar, unremarkable. The psychological reason this happens is desensitization combined with comparison fatigue. When you've been with many men, individual differences start to blur together into categories rather than unique experiences. What should be an intimate discovery of a specific person becomes routine inspection and automatic categorization. Despite sting to hear, but if she treats your body and your performance like she's seen it all 1,000 times before, she probably has. The absence of curiosity, appreciation, or individual attention isn't sophisticated confidence. It's emotional and physical fatigue from overexposure. Thing 7. Knowledge of advanced practices without discussion. This sign ventures into territory that many men prefer not to think about, but it's crucial for understanding what you're dealing with. I'm talking about her familiarity with practices, terminology, or preferences that exist outside of mainstream intimate relationships. When a woman casually mentions or suggests things that require specific knowledge or experience, she's revealing her educational background. And I'm not talking about things you might have read about. I'm talking about practical, hands-on knowledge. The psychology here is that certain aspects of intimacy don't develop through casual relationships or experimentation with long-term partners. They require exposure to more diverse experiences, different types of men, or even professional environments. Pay attention to her vocabulary, her suggestions, and her level of comfort with topics that might make the average person uncomfortable. If she navigates these conversations like a professional discussing work, that should tell you something about where that comfort level came from. Remember, there's a difference between being open-minded and being professionally informed. One comes from healthy curiosity and communication. The other comes from extensive field experience. Thing 8. Game-changing sign. Mechanical approach to preparation and hygiene. This is the sign that changes everything, and once you understand it, you'll never miss it again.
Pay attention to how she approaches the practical behind-the-scenes aspects of intimate encounters. An inexperienced woman might be a little uncertain about preparation, might ask questions, or might even be slightly embarrassed about the more clinical aspects. She's still learning the ropes, still figuring out what works and what doesn't. But a woman with extensive experience approaches preparation like a professional getting ready for work. She knows exactly which products to use, how long everything takes, and what steps are necessary for different types of encounters. There's no uncertainty, no questions, no learning curve. Here's the psychology that will blow your mind. This level of practical knowledge doesn't come from a few long-term relationships or casual dating. It comes from frequent, varied experiences that require consistent preparation and planning. She has a routine that's been refined through repetition. She knows the timing, the products, the techniques, and the recovery process because she's done this cycle dozens or hundreds of times. Watch for the complete absence of spontaneity in these moments. If it feels like she's following a checklist rather than responding to the moment, that's because she is. And that checklist was written through extensive experience with many different men. This is what I meant when I said it would change your perspective. Most men focus on the during, but the before and after tell the real story. Thing 9. She's evaluating you instead of enjoying the moment. The final sign might be the most devastating to recognize, but it's also the most important. A woman with extensive experience often approaches intimate encounters as a comparison rather than a connection. Instead of being present in the moment with you, she's running your performance through a mental database of previous experiences. She's not discovering you, she's categorizing you.
You'll notice this in subtle ways. Maybe she makes comments that seem like comparisons without explicitly naming them. Maybe she has suggestions that feel too specific, too refined, like she's trying to mold you into something familiar. The psychology here is that when you've been with many men, individual encounters stop being unique experiences and become data points. She's not making love with you. She's processing another entry in her extensive catalog. Pay attention to whether she seems present and engaged with you specifically, or whether it feels like she's going through a routine while mentally checking boxes. Does she seem curious about what you specifically enjoy, or does she already have assumptions about what you should want? An inexperienced woman approaches each encounter as a unique exploration. A woman with extensive experience approaches it as a familiar task with minor variations. Men, here's what you need to understand. These signs aren't about judging women or shaming anyone's past. Every woman has the right to make her own choices about her body and her relationships. But you also have the right to make informed decisions about your own life and relationships. The key insight here is that behavior in intimate situations is the most honest indicator of experience, because it's almost impossible to fake. Your body remembers what your mind might choose to forget or conceal. These 9 signs work together to paint a picture. You might notice 1 or 2 in any relationship, but when you start seeing multiple signs consistently, you're looking at a pattern that reveals significant experience. Most importantly, comment honestly. Which of these 9 signs have you noticed in your relationships, and what shocked you the most about what I shared today? Don't stay silent. Your experience could help other men. Remember, knowledge gives you the power to choose. Remember, extensive experience changes how a person approaches intimacy. It's not necessarily good or bad, it's just different. But it's important to understand what you're dealing with so you can make choices that align with your values and relationship goals. The question isn't whether someone's past matters. The question is whether you're comfortable with the level of experience your partner brings to the relationship, and whether that experience enhances or diminishes the connection you're trying to hold.